Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Hello, Missy, Julie, Alex, Laura. Hello, friends. Hopefully everyone survived the winter storm okay. Hello. Hey, Susie. By the way, TikTok is completely broken. Completely and utterly broken. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that American companies would mess something up as bad as they have, but completely and utterly broken. No one could post videos yesterday. I posted the same video today. Went up right away, which is great. It's got 3 likes, but still somehow no views. So, I don't know. Guess we'll just do our thing here. We'll see what happens with the live. Good morning. Good morning, Aaron. How's Texas doing with the storm? So far, it hasn't gotten quite as cold here as they thought it was going to, which is a good thing. Cold, but we have power. Good. Good, 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 good. Thank you, Julie. No. No, Leah. TikTok stuff was not your phone failing. It's still broken. Like I said, I posted something today, and the people that have watched it, it's not counting as views. And it's not getting pushed to anybody at all. Before, it just wouldn't even get posted. Or now it'll get posted, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. There's been minimal outages across the state, and most of those have been repaired within hours. Good, 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 good. And thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. I tried to make it a mix between understanding that they have some culpability in it, but also that doesn't mean that no redemption is possible. Hey, Kia. Good thing we have all of these other apps that we can post on. Thank you, Susie. Appreciate it. I mean, it's on here and it's on TikTok. I'm not sure there's any value in watching it on TikTok, but yeah, I know, Kia. Yeah, well, I mean, my live on Saturday was at least supposedly getting reported multiple times. This app is just, or that app is just it's probably gonna be struggling for a while. I'm probably gonna try. What I would ask is if a lot of people, if you end up coming from here over to there, help push people over to here, help me push people over to here, because at minimum for the next week, I just have a feeling it's going to be practically non-existent over there. Hey, Summer. And we'll see how the lives go. I haven't watched anyone's live, so I don't know if the numbers have been the same, but I mean, to be fair, the algorithm here doesn't even make sense. I can get videos that get like 30% of it viewed. And then the one I just posted had like way more likes and higher percentage than normal view. And it still gets the same number of actual views. So I don't know. It doesn't get pushed anymore. What's up, Jose? How you doing? Happy Monday, everybody. But yeah, I saw a video with her with some cowboy hat on, and I wanted to kind of throw up. Kia. Last night a true crime podcast usually has 170, was 29. Yeah. Oh, she was doing some interview and she had like this big ass cowboy hat on, and I was just like, bleh. She really is. She really is. But to be fair, this whole administration is at this point. Good morning, Clara. Her Peg's breath. Those two finance guys. Hey, Ash. Heavy work day. No worries, Ash. Thank you for popping in. Appreciate you. Hey, Linda. Saturday was devastating. Morning, Rosa. This week is going to be such a busy week. I think I have 2 days this week where I have 4 interviews in one day, which is crazy. It is awesome. It's also exhausting. It's like there's positives and negatives here. Still sick from hearing about Renee and now Alex. Yep. And we can't forget, so bad with names, the young man in Georgia. Keith. Yes. LA. Gotcha. I couldn't remember where it was. For some reason I thought it was Georgia. But yeah, LA. Good morning, Tanya. But yeah, it's kind of nervous to see what happens this week. I think if what's going on TikTok is not idiocy, but a way to try and keep information about Minnesota down so people get less pissed, I think they failed. I think they failed miserably. Yeah, we'll have to see when I try and go live. If it doesn't work, I will do it through my phone and push people to go over here. That's the most I can do. Well, yeah, because everyone's older videos are now getting pushed out instead of the newer ones. I think it's hilarious. The video that I posted today that I couldn't get posted yesterday has 4 likes, but supposedly 0 views. My head hurts today. I'm just going to listen. My heart is too tired to try and form complex thoughts. No worries, Summer. No worries. I understand completely. They're blocking attorneys who are paid by the families from seeing detainees. Shockers. You couldn't comment on it? Oh. Interesting. Of course you couldn't. This is going to be an interesting day. Said there was an error. Yeah. Somehow not surprised. My question is if they are like this for the world to see, what are they doing behind the scenes? Oh, yeah, for sure, Claire. Sure. I think there's a lot of stuff that's going to end up coming out that I stayed off TikTok most of the last few days. I'm still in pain from fracturing my knee last week, so my fuse is short. I feel you, Rosa. Completely understand. But yeah, like every other video I'm seeing now has to do with the day one response to what happened to Alex and stuff about Renee. And that's it. That is it. I'm seeing it more actually probably than I would have. Not to mention so many creators that normally don't do anything political started posting things after Saturday, like on Saturday. Like I saw so many different people that I've never seen before. They're like, I know I may lose viewers because people are like, don't be political, but middle finger. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I think it's a lot of, I think the problem is TikTok, like something happened in the switch over, because there are a lot of videos that you would think would not be getting pushed to people that are still getting pushed to people. So I think it's just TikTok being broken, but we'll see. Like people are using the word murder straight up. Dog knocked me down accidentally and I fractured it on the frozen ground. Oh no. Someone slipped while shoveling. So many are pissed. Yeah. And have every right to be. And have every right to be. How you doing, Powder? I'm calling out platforms that don't say anything. Yeah. Yep. The question is, how many people will actually step out? Will step out that door. That's the real question. How many will step out that door? Seven likes, still supposedly no views. That's friggin' hilarious. Watch it on here, because chances are I'm not going to make any money on it over there anyways, unless they are tracking the number of views somewhere else that they're not going to tell me. I'm going to make no money over there and it's not going to get pushed. That GoFundMe that GT set up to help that food bank had almost 180K as of yesterday. That's awesome. That's so amazing. Didn't give his opinion since he's trying to get a green card. Chances are he's not going to get a green card. Is cooked? I don't know if it's cooked. I mean, it's definitely struggling right now. 100% struggling right now. I kind of figured it would be struggling. But that's understandable. If I, at this point, if I didn't have a big platform over there, I probably wouldn't be using it much anymore, if we're being honest. Most of the people I know that post stuff over there also post stuff over here. How many new podcasts going extreme language with 14 guest speakers jumping on now for money? Yep. Yep. All right, I want to see if it works. Hey, Katie. Hello. How are you, friend? I haven't heard from you in a while. Have you been traveling? Have been expecting to hear from you to play Fortnite or something. Your grandpa's in the hospital? No. I'm so sorry to hear that. Going live seemed to work, Kia. Just fighting a bad internal knee infection. He can't seem to kick. Oh no. That's no bueno. That's no bueno at all. I had a friend not have their life for referring people to shop off app because saying they like something they can only be bought. Jeez. Yeah, well, I've seen other people post things that have gotten views and likes. So we're all, it seems to be pretty inconsistent. Yeah, I saw a bunch of different clips of it, Aaron. It was interesting. It was good. It was a good debate. It was a good debate. Posted a video and it got 2 views. Yeah, there's something really broken going on. There's something really broken going on over on TikTok. Yeah, I don't think it's a kind of creator thing. I think it's a crossover thing. Like when they moved it, this new algorithm, this new everything, I think they screwed up something and now they're going to have to spend time fixing it. For things other than themselves. It is. I wish they did it earlier. Maybe we wouldn't have been here, but who knows? Maybe we still would have. I think too many people said, I don't do politics for too long, and it got us here. Doing something illegal doesn't matter if you voted for it, Bliss. You voting for it doesn't justify them being able to do something illegal. Oh, they're not allowing gifts? Oh, good. Seems you can't do gifts on, oh, it's because I forgot to put it up. It's easier for people to just turn a blind eye rather than stand up for what's right. Unfortunately true. We can't see the guest boxes. I mean, there are no guests up right now, Leon. Yeah, it looks like the heart me's and stuff work, but hey, Bobia. Looks like some people can. This is really weird. I don't know. It's been interesting seeing all the 2A people be all, but he had a firearm and then the NRI called them on it. Yeah. Hi, Chrissy. It's been acting very funky. That's why I'm telling people to go over to the tube. It's not funky over there. And you can still gift over there. No, not really, Doug. Clear cache in the app, restart the app, that fixed yours. There you go. There was an update for you too. Yeah, I saw the thing from the NRA. That's a dumb statement, Adam. Did you post a video this morning? Sure did. Same name. Same name, same image, same everything. I'm live over there too. He didn't get searched. He got tackled. Not justifying anything. We're pointing out the hypocrisy of people on the right saying that him having one on is reason. He didn't resist. You obviously didn't watch the video, you dimwit. all the privileges, all the advantage to end up spouting this for money. I'm not spouting this for money. I'm not fighting for the 2A. There's a difference between what I want the 2A to be looked at as and the reality of how we look at it in this country. He did not resist. Nothing he did justified it. That's a dumbass statement. Hello.
To begin with, he was disarmed. Secondly, he was on the ground. Thirdly, he'd already been pepper sprayed. There are no legal grounds for what the ICE agents did. Even if he did resist, it did not meet the legal standard for use of deadly force. This patently ridiculous arguments being made in here. They are patently ridiculous.
Yep. And Linda, I haven't been on Substack much. I'm going to end up getting back on it, especially if this keeps happening, what's happening here. Yeah, Scott, it's all messed up right now. I have a video that I couldn't post anything yesterday. Posted a video today that's got, what are we at?
Oh, I know you posted because I hit play and it brought me to a DM I had sent you instead of the video. And a DM I had sent you months ago saying video cannot be played.
Mm.
And I read some video that I sent you, a DM, when we had an exchange, not this weekend, but months ago.
Hey, Di.
Months ago.
Yeah, if you go to the page, there's one there. It's got 15 likes and 0 views so far, according to this app.
Yeah, well, it has one less view. I couldn't view it.
So, can the family sue? I mean, someone is like, yes, I think you're going to see so many lawsuits. Di, if you want to come up, and Kia and anyone from the community. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. You can't see the guest box? Of course not. Of course not.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. In the end, can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Look, it simply isn't true that federal officials cannot be prosecuted for state crimes. There are certain predicates that have to be met, but they can be sued. Vice President Vance, who should know better, having gone to an Ivy League law school, said you have absolute immunity. That's simply not the case. And I can point to a 2006 appellate court ruling that differentiates. Obviously, there's some hoops that you have to go through. For instance, the defendants, meaning the ICE agents, would have the right to have the case tried in federal court. Okay, so what? It's still state charges that would be tried in a federal court. And the way that you would try them, then they would raise the issue of what's called supremacy clause immunity. Now, there's a line of cases on that, and I'll put it in straight language, not legalese. The issue would be then before the court as to whether or not the federal official acted reasonably in the circumstances. And by the way, the same standard applies to cases that didn't cause an unaliving. I'm sorry, I was about to say DEATH. An unaliving. So this is what Minnesota should be doing. And I think it is what Minnesota is doing, because I note with interest that Minnesota has opened up a portal for people to give them evidence, and apparently they are getting mountains of it. So the federal government's not cooperating with them, so what? They can still bring cases, and they should. There is limited immunity, but it is not absolute immunity.
For you guys that can't hear or see us, there's a couple different things you can try. I did have an update this past weekend. Now, when I went in, it didn't show I had an update. I have to go into the App Store. I have an iPhone. I have to go into the App Store, search TikTok. And then when TikTok comes up, don't click on the picture, don't click open. I have to actually click on the title for TikTok, and it takes me to another screen and it showed an update. You can also clear your cache, restart your phone, and then come back and see if that helps. I sent Di an invite already.
So did I.
I was asked a question, which is a good question. Do you mean like, did he fear for his or others' lives? Yes, he would have to have feared for his life, or that to believe that others were put in imminent danger to make the discharge of the firearm legally justified. However, it's not his opinion. It would have to be reasonable. A jury would judge it by the reasonable man standard. Would a reasonable person have been in fear for his life? Again, the decedent was on the ground. The decedent was disarmed. The decedent apparently had already been pepper sprayed. I fail to see how there's any reasonable belief on the part of the ICE agents that either themselves or anybody else was in danger of losing their life.
Yeah, and they clapped. When I saw that angle of the video where after the firearm is discharged, and you see that one dude, I mean, and he's like, heck yeah. I mean, the way that guy pushed that woman down and then like immediately just like unleashed that pepper spray or mace or whatever it is in those canisters that they have. And I mean, just gushing it all over them. And then they all jumped on. It was just.
I had to clear my cache over here, uninstall and reinstall to be able to get chat over on the tube. Everyone just needs to clear their cache. That's just something.
Good. I'll clear my cache, whatever the fuck that means. You're not alone. My TikTok all weekend, I gave up on TikTok. I was looking at 4-month-old videos that I'd already liked and commented on.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of the same videos 5 times already. Scrolling in the same, like it didn't leave, just kept scrolling. And I've seen the exact same videos like 5 times in a row.
How do you clear your cache? Hang on. I think you go to your main page, go to like your account, like on your page, and those little buttons up at the top right or settings or something like that. Click on that. There should be something that says data privacy or something like that. Click on that, and it'll have an option to or create space, and it'll have an option to clear your cache.
Yeah, Di.
Di, can you request?
I think she said she couldn't see the join go button.
Yeah, Rosa, I heard the same thing. It's, I mean, what is there to say at this point, Rosa, that hasn't been said? I mean, it is horrific. And, you know, look, obviously this becomes a legal issue, but it's a lot more than that. This is a political, a moral, and a nationwide issue. And quite frankly, I'm happy to explain the law as I know it, but this is not a legal issue at this point. That this is a moral and national issue. It goes far beyond the legalities of the rights of the state of Minnesota to bring state charges against a federal official. It goes way beyond that.
Well, we're just glad you're here, Di. But we're sorry we can't hear your take on things.
Yeah, if anybody's having like real issues, like try closing out the app, try restarting your phone. If you didn't do an update or didn't see that you got an update this weekend, there was an update. So once I did the update, restarted my phone and did all that stuff, it's been back working fine for me. Liv, what I've heard, like, I know Amanda Rose was talking about, because she lives in Minnesota, Minneapolis, and she was saying, or no, not Amanda Rose, sorry. I know she's been going out there, but if you guys follow Brenna, I found her through GT, but she was saying that the National Guards were out there giving out donuts and hot coffee to the protesters. She said that they're all very clearly marked. Their persons are clearly marked, and they're telling people, we are not ICE. We are not here to support them. That's not what we're here for. They've been, like, she said that they had the police, like from Minneapolis, the police, and then like the National Guards in tandem with the police were blocking roads, and not to stop protesters, but from stopping cars or other things to be going down the roads where the protesters were. So from what I'm hearing from people that are there right now, they're saying that the engagement with the National Guard has not been bad.
Their purpose there is to make sure that ICE doesn't escalate it, which is what has been happening. That's why they're there.
Well, and now they're talking about going into Maine, from what I understand.
Already there.
Oh, are they? Okay. And that has to be about as bad political news for Susan Collins as you can imagine.
Ooh,
She has to be livid about that, because she's been running even in the polls for re-election, dead heat against both the potential Democratic candidates. And it's not going to be a dead heat anymore.
Wanda, ICE is not escalating anything.
Oh dear. Hey Scott, I was wondering, is it an unalive, perhaps? An unalive heat that they're running in?
Yes.
Right?
Oh. Di, you took. I was going to say, I don't know what the hell Di's talking about.
Usually, yes. Man, I tell you,
Yes,
my
yes,
jokes just haven't been landing right recently.
Di, I've been 12 inches of snow up here.
Woo.
I just got done with the plow guy and doing shoveling myself, so I'm operating on fumes right now.
Oh, I bet. Can I ask where you're at?
Yeah, New Jersey.
New Jersey. Oh man. All right.
There's some really bad feedback coming from Di, especially sometimes when her and Scott are unmuted at the same time. Is anybody else hearing that?
No, I've heard no feedback from Di.
No, I don't hear it either.
So TikTok's just batting 1,000 today, huh?
Oh, it's seriously batting 1,000.
I have definitely been over on the tube today. I can't even get my 20-second posts to go.
They'll go up now, but they still won't count as being viewed. That's what's happening now. Like I mean, I've seen you see my video and it still says 0 views, even though it's at 24 likes now.
Yeah, and two, even trying to download it so that the posts go into my phone so I can, re-upload it, won't do that either. So I think we're definitely on the sinking ship here.
I assume this is weather related, right?
I assume it. If being that it is everywhere and everyone, I'm assuming that it is incompetence in the moving over of the whole system to this new American only bullshit.
Amanda was saying that it was what'd she say? That it was a coding problem. Like they took a few shortcuts instead of going through the long process of doing it. And she's like, that's all I could think of. So could be a coding, could be an issue here, there, and everywhere. But I think we all know that once it settles down again, it's still not going to be the same.
No. Which is, again, why I tell everyone, go over here. Go there. Just go there. So much
people
better.
In like Canada and Australia, they weren't having any issues over the weekend.
No. So, and again, I'm not just so we make sure we all have our facts straight. All of America's data was already in the United States and controlled by Oracle. That is not new. It's really the algorithm and the running of whatever app we have here, if it's any different, that is different. That is the only thing that is technically different than before. That doesn't mean that it has nothing to do. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page here, that I don't like Oracle any more than anybody else. But they already had all of our data before this.
Yep. And honestly, I believe it was more secure before they had it. I'm going to just say it, and I said it. Am I still here? Did they take me out yet?
Nope. Yo, you're still here.
Now, what did you guys think about when they said, I was really curious when I saw that bullshit that came out talking about, well, if you release your voting records and stuff, we'll get rid of the cubes. And I'm like, as soon as I saw that, and before I heard anybody else on a live talking about it, my first thought was, if that's the first thing you say that can get you to go, that means that what you're doing there has shit to do with the immigrants in the first place.
Well, that's exactly it, isn't it, Kia? That's exactly it. You know, it is remarkable to me that the Trump administration consistently says the quiet part out loud, inadvertently. It's remarkable. Though this is about immigration, this is about finding the criminals and getting out of the country. Oh, by the way, if you give us your voting data, we'll go home. That destroys their whole argument. Not that they have much of an argument to begin with, but whatever argument they have, that literally destroys it. They're saying the quiet part out loud. And by the way, Minnesota has no intention of handing them over their voting data.
And
let them come get it.
Khaleesi, at least for now, I'm over on the tube and I go live at the same time. You should also follow on places like Substack. I haven't been posting there a ton lately, but if depending how things get, it'll be one or both of those places.
I can't believe she actually said that. I mean, to actually say the Attorney General, that right there is a quid pro quo. Do we all remember that? And that's not appropriate at all. That's impeachable just for her saying that at this point. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Also, too, the narrative, and I was noticing this as well, I don't remember a single time in my lifetime when somebody was unalived, like these two people were, where leadership in the country came in and said it was their fault. It was the victim's fault. Like the victim blaming element, I've never seen in my whole life. Even when people hated the people that were being unalived, they were still like, oh my gosh, it's a loss of life and that's awful. Here it's like, well, they deserved it. They did it to themselves. It's just gross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point, and somebody brought up in chat, wrongly, of course, well, he was resisting arrest. Since when is the unalive penalty to be meted out by an officer of the law because you're resisting arrest? That's not the legal. That's not the legal standard.
It certainly isn't.
And again, I don't want to get bound up in legalisms here. It's also not a moral standard, and it goes against everything that our country is supposed to stand for and the Constitution is supposed to stand for. Both First and Fourth Amendment have been regularly violated here by ICE.
Absolutely. And if you've ever worked any cases involving excessive force and resisting arrest, like you can see everything that's happening. There's no resistance. They had him down in 2 seconds and he could not resist. So that part of it bothers me because everyone's like, oh, he was resisting. That's not what that looks like, actually.
Yeah.
That is not at all what it looks like.
Let's take it a step further, that he was resisting. That still doesn't give you the right to use deadly force.
Exactly.
So, A, he wasn't resisting. He was on the ground, on his back or his stomach. He was on the ground. He had already been pepper sprayed. He had already been disarmed. And then and only then Did they put 10 things into? Am I allowed to say BUL?
I don't know. You can say it. Say it. I don't care anymore.
They put 10 fucking bullets in him. Okay? After he was on the ground, after he was disarmed, after he was maced, there was absolutely no fear that any reasonable, again, the reasonable man standard will be what the Minnesota will have to show, and they'll easily be able to show it. There's no reasonable belief with the ICE officer that either himself or others were in deadly danger. It just doesn't exist here.
And also, Scott, don't you think it's, 10 bullets. Are they all from the same guy?
No.
I don't know.
No, I think you saw multiple. I think you saw. I thought I saw multiple pull out their firearms.
It seemed like it, but my goodness, that would be like if you're taking down like well, I got to be careful with my language. Somebody really big and bad. You're gonna have a couple of shooters, but just some guy wrestling around like he doesn't know karate. Like, leave that poor man alone. And then that many shots. That's when you know in a homicide, when the person committing the homicide has gone too far, is when you see that many of those.
I want to comment over someone said over on the tube. Josh said, it feels hopeless when our politicians tell us to just vote. We voted, we've been voting, yet we've gotten to this point. I don't think one more vote will save us. So here's the deal. We haven't been voting. You may have. I know I have. I'm sure the people on this panel have. But we as a country have not. When the average percentage of voters in a primary is 20-25% tops, that's not us voting. When on a good election, we hit what, 65% of registered voters voted? That's not us voting. That's not.
Yeah, we get 20-25% of people showing up either for a primary or a special election. We get 50% of people showing up for the midterms. That's right, folks. We're only going to get 50. If we're very, very, very high, it'll get up to 54%. That's all we're going to get for the midterms. And we pat ourselves on the back because we hit 64% in the presidential election. Meanwhile, Germany routinely gets 81% across the board for their elections.
It just seems ridiculous. The other thing, too, I wonder is if the amount of power that the orange fella has over a lot of people, because he's like, we're going to primary you if you don't do what I want. It's like people have made those primaries dangerous for the candidates because nobody goes out and votes unless somebody picks them up and then takes them there. So he's able to actually get that threat on the table because people don't vote. Mm-hmm. And that bugs me too.
I heard, I forget where I read it, but I read that he's already starting to call for someone to primary. I don't know if they can at this point, but he's calling for someone to primary Susie Collins in Maine because of the way she's responded to what's going on with ICE there.
That must be recent. Was it that in the last couple days?
Yeah, that's okay. When I read it. I haven't read another story about it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, he's been very careful about that one because he knows that one. It's one thing to backstab Bill Cassidy down in Louisiana because the Republicans are going to win that Senate race if they run a box of Kleenex. It's quite different to cost yourself a Senate seat. There's only one Republican who could possibly win in Maine, and that's Susan Collins. She's the only Republican who could win. So he's been very hesitant to have a final break with Susan Collins because that's the same as giving up the Senate seat. If Susan Collins is not the Republican nominee, I don't care who the Democratic nominee is, they win.
Someone's asking what the names of the cubes are that were involved in this.
We have not heard yet.
It's a really good question. And I think for both cases, we've not really heard, except for that, dum-dum that went out in front of the vehicle, which, by the way, is against their own policy. Hello. Anyway, we don't know who they are. At this point, I think that's probably the best, though. I think tensions are high and people are upset. And if you give them names and locations, they could go and make bad choices.
Oh, so it looks like this was actually a week or two ago. He called her a disaster and suggested she should not be reelected following her vote in favor of the Democratic-led War Powers Resolution.
Well, good. I hope he comes out against her. I hope he does primary her. You know, talking about Maine, I find it interesting. I don't know what this means, but I'm not at all certain. I might as well say what I mean. I am not at all certain at this point that Susan Collins is even going to run. It's been very curious to me that Susan Collins has not, as of Saturday, officially filed to run for re-election or announced that she is running for re-election.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, you look at the facts. She's 72. She would be 78 or 79 by the time she finished her term.
So she's just getting started then.
Yeah, right. But she's at her lowest approval rating ever in the state of Maine. And she might very well say to do what? To continue to have to carry Trump's water when I hate the guy's guts? I mean, if ever she was going to retire, now would be the time to do it, I would
Does
think.
she own a lot of real estate in New York?
I don't know.
Because she could, try to do some fraud. That seems to help them get into the White House.
Yeah.
Josh, okay, I agree with you. I just want to know what we get in return for our vote. We wanted universal health care, firearm control, etc. We haven't gotten any of those. So this goes back to the statement, though. So if you want those, which we all do, you need to vote in people through the primary who want those things too. That's what it comes down to. Up until, I'm hoping this year, incumbents have a 90% re-election rate in the primaries, especially. That is the problem. When only 20 to 25% of the people come out and vote in the primaries, then you get the kind of people that those 20 or 25% of people want. And those people have been the status quo people, the ones that don't rock the boat, that don't may be corrupt as far as we know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there's no chance any of them are. Wouldn't surprise me at all. That being said, if we want things to really change, we got to get out and make our case in the primaries. And I'll say this right now to everyone listening. I am interviewing as many progressives as humanly possible that are running for office. These people want stuff like universal health care. These people want stuff like firearm control. These people want to be held accountable. These people want everything that we have been talking about for years now. But if they don't get through the primaries and then through the general election, everything we keep talking about doesn't matter. Which is why I made the video that's probably not getting seen very much on TikTok, at least. Even though it did well, it surprisingly didn't get as many views as I thought it would on the tube either. You don't vote. This is going to be what you get. Voting at this moment is how we get what we want. But voting needs to happen in the primaries. Why defund and not more funding? Right now, ICE has the equivalent ICE. This, I don't know how many thousands of people work for ICE. Let's say 10,000 to be 10,000 people have a budget equivalent to half all law enforcement in the entire country combined. Don't give me this, they need more funding.
They have all of the funding, all of the cancer research, all of the places trying to give out a peanut butter sandwich to kids, all that stuff, that's going to the cubes. They're all getting it.
And as for funding to train them better, there is oodles of funding to train them better. The fact that they are poorly trained is a choice. That was a choice made by the DHS to give them a 3 to 6 week training program. They could have the regular training programs that FBI agents have, that Secret Service agents have. It was a choice deliberately made to throw out unprepared, very poorly educated, very poorly vetted people and throw a uniform on them and have them dress up like a jackbooted Gestapo and come out
Exactly.
into America's streets. That was a
Exactly.
choice. The money is there to train them.
This is what I keep saying this. What happened to this desire for accountability? Why do you guys not have the ability to hold people accountable when they do things like this? The fact that this happened and the immediate response is they were terrorists. They were domestic terrorists. Immediate.
It's awful. And hey, whoever Anargyros Karunos is here in the comments, impeach who? Dude, you're gonna need to look up civics. Anybody on the cabinet can be impeached. And I was talking about Pam Bondi. Guess what she can have? An impeachment. That's right.
You do not need a college degree to join ICE. It's actually not true.
I would say this. I think I was going to say this a long time ago, but everybody kept talking. I would say this. I think part of the issue is that Black and brown folks have seen police act like this for a long time. When all those riots were happening, all those Black men were being unalived on camera in front by the police officers. It was the same kind of rah-rah. They should have just complied. He shouldn't have been in that neighborhood. He shouldn't have been walking in the street. It was the same thing. I really, truly think what's really getting people upset, and especially with Renee, is she was a YT woman that was unalived on camera in front of everybody. And I think for a long period of time, YT folks thought that their closeness and their YT-ness was going to keep them safe, and now it's not. Now they're actively seeing what it feels like to be Black and brown, or to speak with a different accent, or different things like that. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me that frustrates me. How many of Black and brown people were unalived, and it was never brought to any kind of anything. No one would have ever heard about my cousin if it wouldn't have been for a freaking R&B singer, not the government, not a whole bunch of protesters, not anything like that. It was an R&B singer, Trey Songz. He brought spotlight to my cousin's unaliving by a police officer. So I think that's part of what the issue is. I think people are seeing it in front of them, and they're like, for so long, in the entirety of this country, a majority of YT people were safe, and now they're not anymore. And I think that's why everybody's in such a big rah-rah, and it's such a big damn deal now.
And unfortunately, that's what we've said. There are too many people here that only are willing to see and speak things when they see it affecting them. And that is a big thing, that they feel that, and it should have felt it earlier, but stop calling us YT. No.
How about I call you a dumbass? Is that better?
Somebody in the comments, and I don't want to mischaracterize it, I'm not sure what they said, and were the ones accused, of course, of playing the race card, obviously in response to what Kia said. No, what Kia said is actual history. It actually happened. It's actually, it's part of American history. And there's nothing inappropriate in bringing it up, I don't think.
And
Scott, it seems like so many people get mad about that, and it's just ridiculous.
And yes, Jay, I think they are going out just to do it, though. And that's the problem. I don't think they have, I don't think they are going out to do anything but hurt other people. I don't care. I don't think they care what color your skin is. I don't think they care about anything. And that's the problem.
Just for anybody that's confused or don't understand why we say YT, TikTok seems to have a special affinity for flagging you if you say the color of a certain race on here. You get flagged for that. So that's why we say YT.
Exactly. Or no, orange. For me, I was getting hit constantly before I started using the word orange. Like, for fuck's sake, people.
Well,
It is an everyday reality.
I'm sure the new owners of TikTok will fix that right up for us, Scott.
Well, I think, oh my gosh, I can't even finish my own sentence, Scott. I can't even do it. I hear ya.
Yeah, right. Rough times, rough sledding is ahead. We just
Yes,
don't know when.
indeed. I don't have any more room on my closet for any more cases. We've hit 600 and my hubs is starting to look at me funny.
And Josh, yes, there are a lot of people that are angry at the Dems that voted to do it. And again, this is why voting is a thing. Those 7, they gave their reasons for doing it. You disagree with it, primary them. Is it they did it because they didn't want to shut down. They said that. It was because they didn't want to shut down. I think one person did it because there was something else in the bill that their district needed. Do I think that is a valid reason to do it? No. Which is why I think they should be primary. Now, some of them aren't even running that did it. But again, that's what primaries are for. Primary them. If they're doing things that aren't good, primary them. Senate does not need to defend ICE. ICE needs to pay for their choices, especially when their choices cause the loss of life.
The Senate needs to defend somebody. What's the budget for ICE? 170 billion, something like that? 165 billions? I don't think the Senate needs to defend ICE. I think what the Senate and the House need to do is investigate ICE. What the Senate and the House need to do is start asserting the powers granted them under Article 1 of the Constitution. They have been shirking both their rights and, more importantly, their responsibilities under Article 1. Congress is meant to have oversight power over the executive branch. They are meant to do that. That is the way this country is always run. We are in a rather bizarre period of our history where Congress lays supine before the executive branch, and that is not the way our Constitution is supposed to work.
I'm sensing some frustration from you, Scott.
I've been following history. I'm 69 years old. I've been basically a historian, so to speak, for most of those 69 years, and I've never seen anything like this. I mean, even when presidents had huge majorities of their own party, I'm talking about Franklin Roosevelt, Lyndon Johnson had massive majorities of his own party. They had to still take into account what Congress wanted. They didn't get everything they wanted. They had to work with Congress, and Congress would launch oversight of look at all the oversight done during the Vietnam War by a vast majority Democratic Congress on Lyndon Johnson.
I just want to say this quick because someone was asking who's from the UK. Corsa, primary. So the way we do it here, at least, I don't know how they do it in the UK. If you're running in a party, if multiple people are running in a party, you have an election before the general election where your district or your state decides who the candidate is that runs in the general election in November. So primary is where the party votes to decide who the candidate is.
And this is your hobby horse, Mike, and I think it's a damn good hobby horse to be on. Folks, we all complain about the choices that we have in November. Basically, yes, I know they're third parties sometimes, but basically we have two choices. And half the time, maybe more than half the time, we complain about both of those choices and say they suck, and a lot of people stay home. Well, two things here. Number one, you have a primary to pick the candidate that you want. A lot of times you'll see him, and Mike is interviewing them. Yet another reason to watch some of these interviews that Mike is doing. Some of them are running against 8 and 10 people. And you can't tell me that you can't find somebody who matches your political philosophy out of 10 people running in a primary. You just can't tell me that. Secondly, what about the general election? Let's say you don't like either of the two candidates. It's perfectly okay to vote for the person you least dislike. What is not okay is staying home, throwing up your hands, and calling the whole system corrupt. That's not okay. And if you think it's okay, look at the mess we're in right now. That's how we got in this mess.
Josh, do I think Trump will allow him to be impeached? I don't think he cares if he's impeached. Because I think he's confident he won't be found, like he won't be charged, like he won't be found guilty in the Senate. He doesn't care about the impeachments.
He doesn't. He's got basically 3 years of lame duckness, which is awful.
Hi, Jill. I'm sorry that you got. I can't imagine what it's like living in Minnesota right now. I can't imagine what it's like living anywhere where this is like constant. I mean, where I am, they're here, but they've gone pretty silent as a whole.
Think about what it's like to be a brown person with an accent right now.
That's a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
When you go out in public, you don't want to talk because you don't want someone to overhear that.
Yep.
I have to admit, I've not been able to leave my house. My agoraphobia is so bad right now because of everything that's been going on. It's like I haven't left my house in a couple of weeks. I can't even get to the end of the driveway. It's so awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel for you, Di. I do. And both for the condition and also for, just if it makes you feel any better, and I know it won't, but there's a lot of people who feel this way right now. We feel a little bit lost. We feel a little bit, things seem very, very confusing. And, to say that this has never happened before in American society, I'm old enough to remember Vietnam, and the country was torn in half during that time too. It was a horrible time. And I speak with other people who are my age now, and they remember fondly those years. I said, what do you have, amnesia? The cities were burning. We had race riots. It was a horrible time in America, absolutely horrible. So we have gone through this type of, and obviously we had a civil war from 1861 through 65. So we have gone through horrible times like this before.
I wish
but it
people
doesn't make it any
would
better.
remember that, Scott, like the Kent shooting and all of the other things that happened during that period of time rather than just the music and the weed,
I remember Kent State like it was yesterday. Oh, God, I get emotional about it. I remember the father of the girl who died saying my daughter was not a bum because the day before the Kent State shootings, President Nixon had said that anti-war protesters were bums.
If there is anything that we can take out of this entire thing that could be considered good, it's that hopefully real change will come of it. People will wake up to the realities of what's going on, and stuff will actually get changed. If there is anything, and again, some days I wonder if that's possible, but again, you look at those things that you look at what happened after Vietnam, you look at what happened. Change did end up happening. Was it as far as it should have gone? That's a whole different story. That, obviously there are lots of things that didn't quite get fixed the way we'd hoped they did.
Well, we thought the 1974 guardrails would hold forever, and we were wrong. But this is a very dark time. Di's not alone in feeling that. I think everybody on this panel, I think everybody in chat feels that. feels that we're going through a dark time right now.
I
But
feel
there
like,
are,
Scott, truly, we need those people to wake up because we need reinforcements. Those of us here on the front line talking about this and trying to tell people about it, like we need reinforcements, man. People need to wake up and then come and help a girl out.
And
well,
I'm
Di, that's what I was just going to get to. There are some hopeful signs here in the darkness. There really are. Look at the turnout in the 57 special elections. People sit there and say, well, the Democrats in Washington aren't doing a thing. Fine. The rank and file people are showing up and they are voting in overwhelming numbers. We're breaking records in turnout. We are seeing Democrats running in areas they have never run before. There are hopeful signs, is what I'm saying. There
And-
are hopeful signs. Something is happening out there. And here's something that jumped out at me and hasn't been mentioned. I haven't seen it anywhere. We see the right-wing people defending ICE. Not that many of them, by the way. Not that many of them. Defending what ICE did. Have you noticed that and people say, well, Minnesota's a blue state. Well, take a look again at the voting patterns in Minnesota. It's barely a blue state. And I don't see any right-wing Minnesota politicians defending ICE. So that's another hopeful sign, at least to me.
And I'm going to say this again to people. Do you want change? If you want change, we need to do things that are necessary to get the change we want. As Scott said, there are progressives, people that want the change that we're talking about all over this country running. And I am interviewing as many as I can. And when I say I'm interviewing a lot, I am interviewing 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think I'm interviewing 17 of them this week alone.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
When I tell you how exhausted I'm going to be after this, so I need your help. I need you to watch the videos that I put up about this.
I thought you were going to send coffee.
Well,
coffee and like caffeinated beverages.
If you want to help support my ability to do this, I would appreciate that as well. But you can do it more, the best you can, the way you can do it the most is by helping these people that are trying to fix things. Watching these videos, sharing them with people, especially if you know people in those districts, but even if you don't, these people need visibility. The reason people win is because whether it's the Democratic Party or just the media in general, only pay attention to certain people. And there are some amazing people running that aren't getting visibility. And the reason that I'm interviewing them is to give them the chance of some visibility. And when I tell you that some of these people are just amazing people that want nothing more than to have all of us have a better life together. Just be able to survive, afford healthcare, afford food, afford a place to live. You know, those are the things that these people are running for. And me and two other volunteers who we're helping contact are working our butts off to make this possible. And again, if you don't want to watch my stuff and you just want to go watch their stuff, I'm okay with that too. I really am. I'm sitting here and saying, please watch my stuff only because I want to do this for a living. But in the grand scheme of things, we just need to get the word out about who these people are. The one positive about growing what I'm doing is that if I get big enough, then more people will pay attention if I keep doing these kind of things, which I want to keep doing these kind of things because that's how important the primaries are. That's how important being educated on who's running in your districts are. I would love to keep doing like this. I would love to have a place where people go to find who's running in their district. I would love it.
Yes,
go.
Okay. I saw a comment that somebody said, they want to be able to help other than protesting. One of the ways that you can really help is check for food pantries, food banks, stuff like that in your area that are, especially if you're in an area where the cubes are active, that are servicing the immigrant community. because a lot of them are scared to leave their homes. You know, and when I hear Mike talk about that stuff, I sit there and I think, like, I would love for you, if you and GT could do a mashup with the kind of poll he has, but the way you do your interviews, like that's what we need. I see like a mashup being perfect for you, because we need people to be able to see these people and hear them. But one of the things that he's doing, he created a GFM. I can't say the words on here because TikTok is funny, to raise money. And this person started a food pantry at his home that he was doing by himself, providing everything for. And then people started donating. GT threw his name behind it. They're delivering food to
Wow.
food and supplies to 200 families, pet supplies, diapers, formula, everything, because these people are having a heart. They're scared to leave their home. You can also see if the school is doing, some of these schools and stuff are doing things to set up where you can help walk kids off the school buses and different things like that. Like, because the immigrants that are scared to come out, they still have to eat. They still have to do all the things. They also may end up needing, because they may end up losing their jobs, they may need help with funding for light bills and such and things. You know, it's cold as fuck right now across this country, but especially in a lot of the places where the cubes are right now. If you have like warm weather goods, you can donate gloves, scarves, hats, gloves, those kind of things.
Did you say cats?
Yes, I did. I said scats actually, because I meant to say scarves and hats.
And
Like,
what's
you don't wear cats.
what's amazing about that guy that put together that food pantry, he did it in 4 days. It went from an idea to him helping the city in his house, 4 days. It's crazy.
Yeah, I see they're saying in the chat that I saw Jean Marie was the first person put it, said that the Republican person that was running for governor in Minnesota has dropped out of the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I meant before about I'm not seeing too many of the Republicans in Minnesota defending ICE, and that's a start. That's a start, folks. I mean, there are some things to be hopeful for. And circling back to what Mike said, it's an unfortunate part of our electoral system that name recognition is just so important in any election. And that's on us, the voter, to make sure that we know who's running. And to sit there and look a little bit, I'm not saying spend hours researching them, but spend some time in looking at names you may not recognize. You can find their website. You can find out information on them quite easily in just a simple Google search. And that's our job as voters to do that. And because when you get to a primary situation, so many people just vote for the name that they recognize. That's why name recognition is so important. That's why Mike is doing the interviews that he's doing to do his part to get name recognition to candidates who otherwise might not have much name recognition. Because without name recognition, you can't win a primary.
I think too, and if we are able to continue on this, you know, adding if we're able to get our wish and add you know, how many times they're able to term limits. I couldn't think of the word, sorry. That will be really important too, because the names will be constantly changing. I'm curious to see how that affects things, because you won't have the same person being able to run for 30 to 50 years and be 100 years old and still trying to run. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you how it will affect things. You'll be getting a much bigger turnover in Congress. You'll have fresh faces all the time because name recognition won't be as vitally important as it is now if you had term limits.
Oh, dare to dream.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that we can do without changing the Constitution, because changing the Constitution in this environment is going to be very, very difficult for reasons that are patently obvious. There are things like ranked choice voting that we could do. There are things like term limits that we can do. Those two changes alone would change the national environment, because if you had ranked choice voting, there is an incentive for a candidate to be able to negotiate with the other side. That would be the only way that they could win and be the only way that they could ever pass legislation. And term limits obviously would bring in a constant turnover of personnel in Congress. And that in and of itself, I tend to think would be beneficial. I used to be against term limits because, much like Mike, I had said, well, that's what elections are. But unfortunately, we have, 93% of incumbents always win. So I think that's obviously means that we don't have a level playing field anytime you have that type of retention of your elected representatives. Therefore, I've slowly but surely come to the belief that term limits are viable. Term limits and age limits.
I just want to say this quick. So if you're over on the TikTok side and you see Laura Ogletree, if you like supporting small musicians, please follow her and support my friend. She is a small musician and trying to grow. Great musician also. Has some great music. So
And Susie became an amucker.
yes, I saw that. I was doing things to let her know I saw it and was thankful, even though I couldn't say it out loud. So I do want to say this too before I forget, because I mentioned to them that I would. For those of you that have watched my videos and are paying attention at all, New Jersey's 11th district for Mikey Sherrill's position has a primary, has their primary coming up, and they need to get out and vote. So I don't know if people know anyone in New Jersey, but we need to get the word out and remind people that New Jersey's primary is coming up for that seat.
Yeah, and it's especially important, folks, because if you don't know anything about New Jersey, the 11th district is a very competitive district. There is no guarantee that the Democrats hold that district. So it's very competitive. In fact, Mikey Sherrill knocked off a Republican to become the representative of that district. It's a very split, even, competitive district. So every vote really is going to matter in District 11 in New Jersey.
And this also comes with the paying attention. And again, I didn't look at all of them. There are a lot of people running. I think there's 8 in the Democratic side that are running. And they're only paying attention to 3 or 4 of them. The person that I interviewed is an amazing person. She loves her district and she wants to help the district. Is she the right fit for there? That's not up to me to say. But I know that if people don't pay attention and watch people, like learn about everyone that's running, you'd never know. And you will only vote for one of the people that are out being talked about by mainstream media.
I've got to go.
Okay.
I got the sign. So I've got to head out, but thanks for having me up here.
You're
and
always
Kay
welcome,
and
Di.
Scott. It's just
Bye,
always
Di.
great. Good to see you all. Take care.
Remember that.
Always a pleasure, Di.
Bye,
talking
Di.
with
Have
you.
a good one. See you later.
Have a good one now, dear. Yes, Vonda points out that it is a requirement in New Jersey that you have to be grumpy. You know, you're correct, Vonda. That's a state law. As a matter of fact, you get 5 years in the pen if you're not grumpy.
Yeah. We're just introverts. Not from my knowledge. I know quite a few New Jersey people from New Jersey. They don't strike me as introverts.
No, if I was looking for a adjective to describe my fellow New Jerseyans, introvert would probably be about dead last.
Can someone please explain ranked choice voting? So ranked choice voting means you get, so instead of having just 2 people, you could have, let's say there were 5 people on a ballot. You would rank them, literally. You would say, this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice, etc., etc., etc. And then when they were counting, if nobody broke the 50% as their first choice, whoever got the least amount of votes as their first choice would get taken off, and whoever put that person as their first choice, they would look at who they put as their second choice, and then they would add the first choice to the second choices, and if no one broke it, then they would take the bottom, go to the third choice, and then first, second, and third choices would get added together, and until someone broke that 50%.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I had a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and Di kind of touched on this about her agoraphobia, and as somebody who suffers from that as well. And there's lots of mental illnesses that are limiting what we feel like we can do to help our society. And one of the things that I personally have been doing is making sure to contact my local, state, and congressional people, whether I'm calling or emailing. I'm sure they're sick of hearing from me, even though I'm doing it about once a week, just kind of pushing that out there because that's what I can do. Because that's my bandwidth at this time, to help. And then second of all, usually I do this later in the on the live, but I, with TikTok being a little glitchy and crazy and everything, come over to, and I'm sure people have been seeing it all day, come over to the tube. Not only do we have the wonderful podcasts, whether they're long form, short form, over there, which are so informative. Some of these people I love, even though they're not in my districts, I love hearing what they have to say. And the other thing I love about them is not only do they have great ideas on how to push things forward, what I've been hearing is a lot of them understand that they have to work within the system to push things through. And I find that refreshing, is to not just give all these empty promises, but understand that they have these things that they're really willing to push forward, and understand that they have to work with other people to make these things happen. That's one thing. And so, yeah, come on over to the tube. We have more in-depth conversations. We're reacting to what's going on over here, but because we have more characters, we can talk, and we can talk like adults over there. And it's an amazing group of people that we have over there, and we just welcome everybody to come over. And we've had a couple people ask about where they can send people to be interviewed for him. And I know on our Discord, we have a message board specifically for that, where you can place things. So I would just recommend going over there. And you know me, I don't stay up very long, but usually I do this later on. But I feel like it's really important for everybody to realize, even though Mike's been saying it, everybody's been saying it, but as somebody that's over there 99% of the time, just come on over. Same name, same station. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Claire. But yeah, Rosa, if you're still there, someone mentioned someone we should reach out to on. Oh, you're already there. Did you see the name? If we could grab that name and reach out to them. Definitely want to try and talk to more people in Texas.
Oh, can I put one more thing really quick? I'm sorry, Kia. The other thing I've been also looking at, personally, I've been looking at the districts that are around me for the House of Representatives. Like I have Lauren Boebert, who's the next district over. So I've been kind of researching some of the districts that are around me and making comments to them in letters and looking at what the people that are running against them in the primaries. Um, so, you don't have to just stay in your district to make comments to them about what you're wanting, um, is my opinion. Look at the people that are running around you. Um, because I think that's something that um, they're not getting a lot of information necessarily from their own constituents, but you can kind of give your 2 cents to the people that are around you as well. And you can slide me down.
Okay. Expose them. 2 years ago, everyone did not want to defund the police. Not in the way you guys think that people wanted to, at least.
That's another thing, though, when it comes to the Democrats and their messaging. I thought that was. I totally understand what they got, what they were saying, and I totally understand what they mean, but they have to get better with their fucking messaging.
Yeah, well, as long as we're on that, it wasn't 2 years ago. It was the election of 2020, and there was a movement within the Democratic Party to defund the police that took place during the mid to late summer of 2020. What did that accomplish? Well, I'll tell you what it accomplished. Biden had a 9-point lead over Trump and won by only 4.5. The Democrats were expected to pick up 15 to 30 seats in the House. Instead, they lost 15 seats in the House and they lost 300 seats in the state legislatures. Therefore, my preferred word vis-a-vis ICE would not be to defund ICE, but rather replace ICE. I don't believe ICE in its current iteration is worth saving. However, that doesn't mean that we stop caring about border security or getting criminals out of the country. But what ICE is doing now is a horse of a different color. They're violating the First Amendment. They're violating the Fourth Amendment. They're probably also violating the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. And are they fixable? I don't think so, not under DHS. It was a mistake to put them in DHS, to create them 23 years ago, and therefore their legitimate functions can be carried out by another agency, and I think that's the way we should go.
Because they did. I mean, we dealt with immigration before 9/11.
Yeah, we did. But I do think that the messaging matters. When people said defund the police, what they really meant was retrain the police, things like that. But Democrats scared people off before the election of 2020. People think the election of 2020 was a great Democratic victory because Biden won. Biden won by about half of what he should have won by, and the Democrats actually lost seats in the House, which is very rare that a winning president actually loses seats in the House. That was terrible messaging by the Democrats, and they own it. That they totally worded it wrong. That's why I don't like the whole idea of defund. I like the idea of replace. Is that a subtle difference? Yes, it is a subtle difference. But as Kia just said, messaging matters, and Democrats should be careful about that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree. I just think the fact that these 3-word slogans are very popular to a whole bunch of people, just very short and I think we just need to think about who is the people that we're taking the cues from the words that we're using? If they're not people who are actively out there engaged with the issues that are happening in the streets, they're just somebody that sits up in Congress but has nothing to do with the people, they shouldn't be the ones saying those words because they're fucking it all up. Like, I think we need to also have our people who are in Congress and stuff like that working with people who are working on the street level with actual people, not just sitting up there talking about their constituents that they never see. They need to get, I think they need to do more cross communication with just normal people about the best ways of how to set this things up. Thank you, Patty. And then the other thing has been a little frustrating, like when I've heard people talking about, either defunding ICE or get rid of ICE, and people are like, no, we need ICE. And I'm like, but no, we don't. Like, we need somebody that handles immigration and stuff? Yes. But do we need ICE the way it's set up now? No.
Yeah, I totally agree, Kia. That's why ICE should be replaced. But the functions that ICE should legitimately do, obviously the American people want those to continue. That's why Democrats have to be a little bit careful in their messaging. And Democrats have been very lax in their messaging really for the last 10 years. And that's part of the reason why we're where we're at. It's again that hideously stupid slogan, defund the police, in 2020 cost us countless seats, both in the state legislatures and in the U.S. Congress. I mean, 300 seats in the state legislatures when we were expected to pick up between 300 and 600 seats. That's like a 700 seat flip. And that was all due to that nonsense about defunding the police. I know what people meant by that, but the wording was bad, and wording counts. Messaging counts. So I would encourage Democrats to be very, very careful on this. The people are on their side, but you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Angel, where did you read that? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Angel on the other side said that Mike Johnson shut down the House, which wouldn't surprise me because he probably thinks that if it's true, he's doing the exact same thing he did last time. They passed something and he's going to shut it down because he doesn't want to vote on whatever else might come that will change anything that they do.
I'll tell you, like a few weeks ago, WRAL did this story, and they were talking about how certain areas across the country are changing how they're funding their police, because it was like they were given data for like when police officers are called when it's dealing with like some kind of mental health issue, and the fact that they have no trainings, how many people they unalived. And like when you start seeing the numbers all put together, it's quite staggering. They've unalived quite a few people when it comes to mental health calls. And so certain areas are starting to take away that part. If it's a mental health calling, they're not sending the police. Somebody else needs to come in. And those are the things, like when they're talking about defunding the police, that they were talking about doing. And Scott, exactly. Instead of just saying, hey, we need to reallocate the assets or something, you sitting here just talking about defund, trying to make it a short one-word slogan without realizing that you're missing most of the point of what you're trying to do.
Bingo. Messaging. It matters. You know, we've got to understand, everybody in here, even the people who disagree with us in this live, everybody, every single person in this live, and you can be the biggest MAGA supporter in the world in the live, you're here because you have a particular interest in politics. That's why you're here. What the Democrats fail to get a lot of times, so the Republicans sometimes too, but they're a little bit better with their catchy little phrases. What the Democrats fail to realize is that most voters are not that deeply involved in politics and the day-to-day things, and messaging really matters to those voters. And when they said defund the police, they scared the living hell out of a ton of voters in 2020. And, you know, Joe Biden, if 75,000 votes in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin had changed in 2020, Donald Trump would have been reelected. And that was a gimme election. Biden was up by 9 with months to go. And then they started in with that defund the police shit, and it all turned to shit. And by the way, we would still have the House of Representatives if we hadn't have done that, because Trump only brought in a few votes in 2024. He only brought in a few representatives. He didn't get a big coattail effect. He only got a few. The Republicans only picked up a few seats in the House. The real thing that hurt the Democrats was their losses in 2020, when they lost 15 seats, when they should have added 15 to 30.
Yep. Trump is crying about fake polls again today. Shocker. What's up, Suge?
Hey, Shug.
Shocked. I'm
Good
so
morning.
shocked.
Oh, he did better than that. He added to his billion-dollar lawsuit or something against the New York Times. He added a count about their poll that just came out on Siena, the New York Times Siena poll. He's suing them for their polling. I mean, this guy is nothing if not predictable, isn't he?
Yep. Angel, I'm just asking where you read that, because I wanna find the story. I believe you. Like I said, Mike Johnson sending the House home and shutting down the House of Representatives. So even if the Senate passes something, it's going to cause a shutdown. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Midas just announced it. Well, no offense to Midas. I need to see it somewhere else.
Even if you hear something from Midas, Angel, hi, sister. Even if you see something from Midas, make sure you verify it from another news source, because they seem like they're really wanting to be the first person to
They
get it
want to get
out.
the first. They want to
Doesn't
be.
mean it's accurate.
They want to be. They want to. Them and Aaron Parnas. And again, I appreciate what Aaron Parnas does, but they both are all about quote unquote breaking news, not about not always about verifying. And even Aaron is getting a little bit better. When he puts out certain information, he is starting to try and verify it more, because I think he's getting some pushback. But I haven't seen the Midas touch doing it enough yet.
Are they closed because of the storm? Like, are they not working today, maybe because of the weather?
Who?
That could very well be. No, as a matter of
DC?
fact, I think that's definitely it. I do believe that I read over the weekend that the House said they would not come to work on Monday. So, at any rate, following up on what Mike and Kia just said, I'd take it a step further and go on to my little hobby horse. If you see anything on social media, let that be a start of your information, not the be all and end all. Look into it. If it's a story that you don't see anywhere else, and I'm thinking of this ridiculous story, I forget the Sasha thing that was big about a week ago, and I did look into it. There's nothing there. And if you see a story that sounds too good to be true or sounds like you haven't heard it anywhere else, it's probably not true.
Oh.
Unfortunately, social media can have an awful lot of disinformation in it,
So
even if it's inadvertent.
So Angel, it was shut down due to the weather. If the next scheduled meeting is tomorrow, like they're not yeah, it's most likely because of the weather. Because they don't have the shutdown doesn't happen until the 30th. The Senate would still have to pass something for them to have to sign something. So no, you're good. Look, when you said it, it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't shut down due to ice. Yeah, that was hilarious, by the way. Them telling weather agencies and stuff to stop using the words ice. Telling other people to stop telling people in the government to stop using the word ice when talking about the weather, because it would because of all of that.
Good morning, Books.
Morning, Heidi. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm all for getting rid of all of them, but
You know what? I think a lot of them are going to be bounced after the midterms, and if they were to ever ask me for a little bit of advice, I would have one piece of advice. Get yourself a good criminal defense attorney because you're going to need it. KRISTI Noem's going to need it. Pete Hegseth's going to need it. Pam Bondi's going to need it. Get yourself a really good criminal defense lawyer because you're in a lot of fucking trouble.
did you see? I saw a clip of him on, I think it was CNN, and Tapper was asking him a question, and the clip. I didn't see the question, but the clip starts with just Steve Miller being Steve Miller, and after it's all done, he starts, Tapper starts trying to talk again. And he's like, I see you being all snide and blah blah blah, and he's like, I just asked you this it was a completely separate question, had nothing to do with what he was talking about. And it's just like, come on, guys. Just, Pete has been quiet lately, not online. He put out a tweet saying how amazing the people in ICE are, and we support them for everything they're doing right after the whole thing just happened. He's not on camera as much, but
yeah, and Pete might be a little bit busier later in the week or next week. The Gerald Ford aircraft carrier task group has left the South China Sea and is heading to the Persian Gulf. Read into that what you will.
Yeah, Vonda, morning mission. But yeah, Vonda, there were festivals all over the country: Boston, New York, LA, Minnesota. I know in Durham, Raleigh. There were several smaller communities around here that they were out there. Even it was crazy because I don't know if you guys have seen the monks that have been walking for peace. They left from Texas and they're walking to DC. They've been in North Carolina the last little bit, and they were just here in Raleigh. And they did like they did a lunch. They were going to do an outside lunch with everybody, but the weather made them do it inside. But then they spoke, and then they left Raleigh yesterday. And at the same point in time, they were showing people gathered for that. There were people in Durham and Cary out there music festivaling about what's happening with the cubes. Yeah, that whole thing with the monks is just amazing. We've had people, WREL was interviewing people from all over the world, all over the country, people that flew thousands of miles, people that drove thousands of miles just to be able to see it. And to see this one, it was this one lady, she was from one of the indigenous peoples in North Carolina, and as she was saying how much it meant to her and just watching her cry, and I'm like, see, this is the kind of news I want to see. I want to see us all like be in love with these monks who are giving out flowers and little bracelets and just spreading like so much hope, joy, and love. And like, damn, we need that. It is the fact that they're walking right now, like literally watching the screen split between the group gathered to watch them and the group protesting or at the festivals because of the cubes, just goes to show how fucking amazing this country can be when we do it right.
and I do want to say this because I understand people's anger. I've seen a few people on this in this live as well as other places talk about wanting the police and even the National Guard to do more against ICE. I understand the feeling and I understand the perspective because there's part of me that feels it too. But I think everyone needs to understand that if that ever happens, we've hit a different, it's a whole different ball game at that point. We're not just protecting peaceful protests. We are actively against the federal government. And as much as I understand the desire, the people that are running that city and that state know what that could mean, especially with an especially with an administration that is not all there. Yes, it's a line that if we cross is one that we don't really go back from. And again, could it get there? Totally could. But they are going, because they care about, their job is to protect the people of their country. They are going to push back on that for as long as possible, and they're going to push for peace for as long as possible, because that is the right thing for them to do.
I would hope, and I know I have seen some, very, very few, and not far enough in probably everybody's opinion, but I have seen some GOP after this kind of trying to distance themselves from this administration or start openly questioning, at least in the finally, in the public about it. So I would hope that, our institutions would be strong enough to prevent something from like that happening.
Yeah, and going back to what Mike said, I do get the feelings of frustration. I do get the feelings of wanting to fight back. Be very careful what you wish for. Taking up arms is precisely what the Trump administration wants. They're looking for an incident. They're looking for escalation. They're looking for an excuse to use the Insurrection Act or declare martial law. They're looking for that. And beware of unintended consequences is all I'm saying. Just beware of that. And I'm responding really to a very thoughtful member of our community wrote a very long piece in Discord. It horrified me. He was basically calling for the citizenry to get arms and to take matters into their own hands. And I think that is a prescription for disaster and will cause mass unalivings of people. And I think it is crazy what he said.
Here's the reason why we say being peaceful, following the law, has the potential to an extent, and usually does cause is more likely to cause the change that we want than the other way around. That does not mean there isn't a place at certain points for it. But if you look at the response, obviously no one ever wants anyone to lose their life. But let's be fair. If we do what some people are calling for, people are going to lose their life no matter what. You look at what's happening in this country in response to what has happened already, because people are being peaceful. You're seeing the response in live. And I understand it's emotional, it hurts, it's exhausting, we're angry, we want it to stop. Trust me, I feel it absolutely every single day. That being said, the question is, do we want to fix the problem or not? You look at most of the people that are calling for this, they have not been dealing with this forever. You see a lot of, and again, not saying that their perspective isn't valuable, but
yeah, John, the deportations, all of us understand that borders are a thing, that deportations are going to be a thing. We are saying that people, including non-citizens and people who are here undocumented, have rights. And we want them to have due process, to be treated fairly, to have justice, and to keep their human rights. That all people in the United States are protected under our Constitution. and that we are also want to have reform and make the process to becoming a citizen easier for people.
And there were. It was called Not One More protests.
And John, they received due process. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
You know, a lot of things kind of get pushed into the void, basically, because so many things happen, so many horrible and high profile things happen all the time with this administration. But this administration has let go and fired countless individuals who work with processing undocumented citizens and people trying to come here legally. They got rid of almost, I don't even remember how many it was. I know it was dozens in LA with judges who work on this. And we're already have a massive backlog. We talked about this a lot before the election, but we have this massive, massive backlog. And one of the things in the bill that was shot down by Trump, we were trying to install more judges and more resources to make this process faster and to streamline it. And this administration not only has not invested in anything into that and expanding that and streamlining it, they've put it all into ICE. They have made it so much worse by firing a bunch of people who were in this process.
And I want to say, so Josh, on the other side, I think that this regime will fabricate an event to justify state of emergency declaration. And this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. You may be right. They may do it. And you know what? Then our response potentially will be different at that point. But we don't do things based on what we think will happen. We do things based on what is happening now.
You know,
Exactly. And it isn't as if the state of Minnesota is powerless here.
Let's let Kia talk.
I'm sorry, like we both kind of went off at the same thing. But that's the thing, like with those judges, with immigration, the fact that people still and the orange one himself still gets up on a stage in front of fucking the world and still talks about immigration and people being let in. You literally had a bill in front of you that could, well, not in front of him, but in front of it to get that stuff taken care of. And then you know what you need. You needed those judges. You need those people. The process needs to go faster. If we want people to be able to be here, quote unquote, legally, then the process shouldn't take 20 fucking years. They have to fix the system. And it's frustrating when these people keep running on this damn, oh, it's such, we're under attack, we're being, all these brown folks are just coming, because you never hear about the shit coming over from folks coming from the northern borders. You don't ever hear about the people overstaying their visas that come from countries where the snow lasts most of the year. All you hear is this bitching about people coming across the southern border. And what do those people look like? It's the racism and the damn idiocracy. Like, Scott, I can't even imagine. I said that to Di one day. I can't even imagine how you lawyers are feeling just watching all of this stupid shit that they're doing. Why is there 600 something court cases against the current administration in a year's time? This is ridiculous.
I would bet there's a lot more than 600. I'll bet it's growing exponentially. The key point here to remember, folks, is there was a deal. It was written by Senator Langford, a conservative Republican from the state of Oklahoma. He had the votes. The votes were there to pass a comprehensive immigration bill. It gave the Republicans most of what they wanted. Biden wasn't thrilled with it, but he said he would sign it. And Trump, citizen Trump from Florida, put the pressure on after they had agreed to pass the immigration bill, put the pressure on for them to tank it after they agreed. He tanked their own bill so that Biden wouldn't get a win. That is what happened, folks. We had a bill.
And expose them seems like neither side in DC is serious about reform. That is not new. And I would argue there are quite a few on the left that are serious about reform, but not all of them. Yes, both sides, especially in the that status quo party side of things, that like using things to complain about the other side, which again is why I say we need to step up and get informed and vote, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is why you need to pay attention to not just the people that the media or the DNC specifically put out there. Because again, the change we want is stuff that a lot of people in the DNC leadership don't. If they do, they're not very good at talking about it. So get out there and find out who's running and vote in your primaries and help get the visibility of other progressives that are running that in other districts, not just your own. There are some amazing people out here. I've said this already. You will feel hope watching some of these people. You will. These are some amazing people that are running in some of these districts and some of these states. And I use this as a way for them to get their policy out, but I ask them pretty specific questions that have been on all of our minds all of the time. I ask them what accountability looks like to them and how they expect their district to hold them accountable. I ask them about what, so we can learn about their districts and what their pain points are. This is what we want. This is what we say we want. Well, if we want it, let's friggin' do it.
Yeah, and using military style tactics on immigration or crime, we know both locally, you can look at national statistics, you can look at worldwide statistics. We know that they can bring down possibly a temporary decrease, but in the long term is not a solution. If you think that this level of immigration tactics is sustainable in any way, shape, or form, you're just not living in reality. The amount of money that we are spending on this, if you are a fiscal conservative and you're not concerned about this, then don't pretend to be fiscally conservative, because you're not. If you think that this is going to endear us to other countries, or that this is going to bring people together in this country, it's going to get worse. It is not sustainable whatsoever.
Well, I would like to know where the people who were so upset about Waco and Ruby Ridge are today, because ICE is performing the very functions that they found objectionable when the FBI raided Waco. An overreaching government. I can't imagine any principled conservative is okay with what ICE is doing. If you are a principled conservative, you would be outraged by what ICE is doing, more so than anybody else, because you believe in smaller government and you believe in the rights of the individual. So where is the outrage from the Waco and Ruby Ridge people now?
Shelb, one of the things that I would suggest doing that can do your part, especially in your area, is look up who's running in your area. Not just organizations, which I can't speak to the organizations that you're reaching out to, but if there are progressives running in your district or your state, they would love help. They would love help. Guaranteed.
Yeah. one tiny bit of success. The West Virginia Democrats in the state, they finally kind of like got together because it basically got completely ripped apart and destroyed over the years. But they finally kind of got their shit together the last year or two. And we have one more spot to fill on the ballot in the entire state for all House seats. So we have 100 House seats, and we only have one more spot to get a Democrat on the ballot. Every other ballot has a Democrat, and we haven't had that in generation, basically.
You're getting that in Texas. Every district federally has a Democrat, and most of them, I guarantee, are progressive that are running, because you have to be pretty progressive to run as a Democrat in Texas. You've begged to let them help without protesting. I get blown off. The people running for office or other organizations, because I guarantee, like I said, I would look up like on Ballotpedia your district and who's running for primaries or whatever, and look up and find one that you like. And if, assuming there is, I can't guarantee with your district, but I guarantee anyone running for office, whether local, state, or federal, would love help that has nothing to do with protesting, because
They were talking about was it Waco where they were using the music or something like that? They were talking about somewhere they've been talking about how, like, up in Minneapolis they've been doing the loud music festivals with lots of whistles and lots of noise and carrying on. And they were talking about, I think it was in Dice yesterday. Somebody was saying they were playing Metallica or something like that, like blasting it on the, on the radio or something. I was like, what an amazing tactic.
Yep. I mean, I was talking with someone who's going around, who was driving through Minneapolis, and they said there's people on every street corner in almost the entire city with whistles. Every street corner.
And like, one, I think that's amazing that people are like stepping up and supporting their community, but two, it's heartbreaking to know that this administration has turned a city into basically a war zone. Like, this is, you want to talk about domestic teaism, this is what it is. And it's not from the citizens, it's coming directly from this government. That is exactly what they are doing.
And Clara, the NRA is already pushing back. Already pushing back. I never thought I would see a day where I would read something coming out from the NRA and be like, I agree.
Ooh, what did they say?
They basically said they're the BS about, like, you have a constitutional right to have firearms, and the stuff that the government is saying is bullshit. Basically, that was obviously, they did a little more NRA-ish, but yep, yeah, they clap back.
I have a question, Scott, because I heard somebody saying something, and then when I lost power for a few hours yesterday, so after that happened, like, I just, stayed off my phone. But is it true that, being that Walz has actually activated the National Guard in Minneapolis, that now the orange one cannot come in and federalize it because they've been actually activated and they're not just on standby by the governor? Is that how that works? Did I understand that correctly?
I'm going to have to tell you that I'm not certain of that, but I do believe that the federal authority to nationalize the National Guard is pretty much absolute. So but I'm not certain in this particular set of facts that you're giving me. So I cannot answer that definitively. But it's my understanding that if Trump wants to nationalize them, he would be able to, subject to court challenge, obviously. But I'm not certain of that.
Okay. Yeah, because it was I kind of came in on the tail end of the conversation that I had heard, and then it was like once the power like went out, I just went ahead and clicked off, so I didn't get to hear all of it, to be honest with you. But the president can take over if it's even after it's been activated by the governor. That's what Jen is saying on the other side.
That's my understanding of it, but I'm not certain of it. I'm not certain of any caveats where the state gets to retain control once federalization, once the president nationalizes the National Guard. I don't know if there are any caveats to that where that wouldn't be effectuated.
Hot Rod, I wasn't surprised that the NRA did what they did. They've been pretty consistent about what they want and what they push for. It's not like they haven't pushed back when people have said dumb things before.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it was a strong stance against it.
No.
They were pretty clear that basically they just said what Trump and a couple other people said was basically stupid.
Yeah.
No, Shawnee, martial law is something different.
And honestly, he would have a lot of trouble trying to do that. That's one of the things about having a large country. It's very hard to try and enact. It would be very hard to try and enact something like that in this country. At least that's what I'm hearing from a lot of people.
I think the more likely thing that he would do first would be to invoke the Insurrection Act. I think that's what we have to fear more than a declaration of martial law.
Here's the thing. If he tries to federalize every state's National Guard, I think he knows what will happen. I do not think if he tried to federalize every state's National Guard that would go over well and would work the way he thinks it was going to work. I could be wrong.
Well, he could certainly try it, but that runs smack into the 10th Amendment. So there will be some real 10th Amendment issues with him attempting to nationalize 50 states' National Guard.
Denise, yes, Rittenhouse shows up with a firearm, semi-automatic firearm, uses it, but Preddy didn't even touch his, but he is the problem. Yep. A lot of people have been talking about that. Yep. Hey, Christopher.
Yeah, I mean, the Trump administration is, I think, losing support every week, every high-profile incident. If he were to even try to do something like that, that's why you're starting to see rifts within the GOP. I don't foresee it going over well at all because really the majority of the people do not agree with this. If you are one of the 35% people who think this is okay and you're all for this, good luck to you, because you are not going to have a fun time in life from here on out. People are not going to find you safe. More and more people are becoming, not afraid to shame you, to publicly shame you. And people are cutting off relationships entirely because you're making a fool of yourself and you're showing that you are an unsafe person.
Yep. Trump, you're exactly correct. Trump has lost another 5 points in the last 10 days.
Probably more after yesterday or 2 days
on his
ago.
immigration, and that is before the events of Sunday, or Saturday. That is before the events of Saturday. He'd already lost another 5 points. And you have to remember, this was the only issue back in January that he was in the black about, that he was favorable. That was the only issue that Trump had a favorable rating on, was immigration and ICE. And now the support is collapsing. It was the best poll I've seen is he's down 17, which is about a 25-point drop since he became president. And he's dropped another 5 points in the last 10 days, again, before the actions of Saturday, which will drive it down even further.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. People don't like seeing 5-year-olds being used as bait, or, veteran VA nurses getting pew-pewed in their back while they're on their knees.
Yeah, and apparently they picked up a 2-year-old too, so the 5-year-old is not even the youngest now.
Oh yeah, the 2-year-old.
Now we got a 2-year-old.
The 2-year-old they shipped all the way to Texas, and literally after they said please keep her with her mom or a parental guardian, and I think a judge was saying you can't take her, so they shipped her off, and then the very next day they apparently shipped her back. So what do you think that does to a 2-year-old with trauma?
Yeah, what next? Is ICE going to be staking out maternity wards? Is that the
Probably
next
already
step?
are.
Oh, good.
Yeah. West Virginia has a group, I forget what they're called, but they protect labor and delivery wards. And they already said ICE is not welcome here. Like, they put out a statement, like, don't even bother, because we will be standing in front of our doors and you will not be welcome here.
Now, again, we often compare these to stuff that's happening in other times in history. And that is one thing that we have this go around that we did not have in any of the other situations, is the internet. We didn't have social media. We didn't have the ability to have 12 different angles on the same thing that's happening. Do I think that the people that are doing this see the world very similarly to a lot of the people that did a lot of the horrible things throughout history, whether you're talking in Germany or even in this country? Yes, I do. I think in terms of how they view the world, they are quite equivalent. And I think that is one of the big differences that when you look at things that are going on, that they're trying to do, they don't work quite the same way that they used to, because the way information got out was different back then than it is now.
Well, yeah, that brings up 2 points. I agree with you totally. It's a different world that we're living in now, in that there's a videotape of so many different things that get instantaneously spread around. And pictures mean a lot. Pictures mean more than words. If we're going to talk about history, I remember in Vietnam, the very famous picture of the Viet Cong suspect who was pew-pewed in the head by the South Vietnamese police chief. And that went around the world, and American support for the Vietnam War plummeted when they saw that horrific picture. Well, we all saw what happened in Minnesota here, which leads me to absolutely agree with what Book said. Politically speaking, let's leave morality out of it just for a second. Politically speaking, what is going on now is not sustainable for the Republican Party. This is hurting them grievously. It's not sustainable. But Books use that word, not sustainable, and I can't think of a better word to use.
Kiva just said over on the tube that her German friend just sent a message that one of the leaders of their far right party is suggesting they create their version of ICE in Germany.
Well, that's to be expected. What are they? The AFD over there.
Yes.
That's to be expected out of those nut jobs.
Yep. Well, they've said specifically that they're basing everything they are doing to grow their movement on what Trump and MAGA are doing.
Well, then maybe somebody should explain to them that Donald Trump has a 36% approval rating. Maybe they might want to rethink that.
Did you see where a Republican dropped out of the primary for the Minnesota governor race?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I thought you may have.
What do they want to get rid of in Germany? Non-Germans. It's the same kind of people, the same thing. It's no different. It's this nationalistic bullshit.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe that, 30 some percent of people in our country support this kind of stuff. It makes you realize you really have to, look at.
And this is the thing that we also need to remember. And this is all of us. I have to bring myself to see these things sometimes because I have to remind myself that these people do exist. We've talked about this Necessary Conversation podcast. I don't like it. I watched a clip of them when they asked if the President of the United States said to basically level a city, that they would be okay with it. And both of them said, well, he would only do it if he had a reason. Thank you, Tommy. That's the kind of stuff that there are people out there that believe, and we need to remember that. We need to remember that there are certain groups of people. And actually, after that, I saw a lot of people saying that podcast just needs to stop. And we all understand why he did it. We all understand why their kids did it. But we need to stop giving voice to these kind of things anymore.
Yeah, I've come to the point where I don't even I feel like there's always this talk about, there's two sides and everybody has their own opinions. We have to come together. I'm to the point where I don't deal with that anymore. If your opinion is that other people don't deserve human rights, then you don't get to have an opinion with me. It's completely shut down. It's not worth my time. You don't get a platform.
Yep.
And I will just call you out that you're a horrible person if you think that way. And I don't want to hear it. Your opinion means nothing to me at that point.
You know things are bad when the groveling sycophant senator from the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz, called up Donald Trump last week and said, we are headed towards a catastrophic defeat in the midterms because of everything that you're doing. And he was trying to get him to back off. And Donald Trump's response, as reported by Axios, was, fuck you, Ted. Click. So there we are. Trump is not listening to reason. And this is what happens. And this was brought up. We've talked about it a few times. This was brought up by a member of our community when things looked really bad in February and March. Trump is on the rise. Democrats are hiding in their little rabbit holes. Elon Musk is running around with the chainsaw. Doge was in full swing. They're going to overreach. They're going to overreach, and they're incompetent. In the end, that will be their downfall. And that was prescient, and that is exactly what we're seeing.
Will we make it to the midterms? Yes. Again, we're talking if things continue as they are literally right now. Yes. That does not mean things can't change. Things can always change. The future is unknown. But I have seen nothing that makes me think that we won't make it to the midterms.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm not surprised. I feel like we had been warning people from the very beginning what was going to happen. And people were either, well, that's exactly what I want to happen, without really understanding what that was, or they did and they just didn't care, that group of people. Or people were like, oh no, I can't believe that that's actually what would happen. But I think we all knew exactly what was going to happen, at least on this panel.
Scotty asked in chat whether wouldn't it be best just to impeach him now? Two things, from your mouth to God's ears, but it ain't going to happen, Scotty. And here's why. You need 67 votes in the Senate to convict. The votes aren't there. I don't care what Trump does. The votes aren't there. They're not going to vote to convict him. So let's just win the midterms and take it from there.
And just I want to say one other thing to remind everyone. States still run elections. The president can pretend and try and do whatever he wants, but states still run elections. And there was still an election during the Civil War. There was still an election during the Civil War. So, again, not saying that life's going to be great, not saying that something horrible might not happen. But there is nothing in the Constitution that allows for elections to be postponed. States run elections.
We've never not had elections. We had elections, as Mike just said, in the Civil War. We had elections during World War II. This is not World War II. We're going to have elections.
Yeah, they'll start impeaching lower level administrative officials before they ever reach Trump.
My guess is if things, again, this is not knowing the future. I am more likely to see something happening, yes, like Book said, to lower officials, and then something happening to the more upper officials come after the presidential election in 2028. That you're more likely to see, because again, what we're seeing right now is things affecting people, which then are causing people to realize that things aren't okay. Every time the president stands up on a podium and says batshit crazy things, some people that voted for him realize that something's wrong. Every time the stories come out about what ICE is doing in these different cities, and then see the responses by this administration, some people are realizing how and who will do it. What, the elections? Everyone will do it. What do you mean, not the Republicans?
I don't even understand his comment.
I think he thinks that no Republican-run state would do elections, only the Dems, and there aren't enough of them. So here's the thing. So during the Civil War, they did elections. Southern states may not have been a part of the elections, but they did elections.
Look, everybody's talking about, and then after the midterms, we can do the impeachment of his cabinet officers, start there. Folks, slow down with that. To begin with, what I really think is going to happen is if the midterms go the way that they're looking right now, there's going to be a big cabinet turnover anyway. You're going to have a lot of them quit, and you're going to have Trump fire a lot of them because why? Because Donald Trump will never admit that he's the reason they lost the midterms, and he'll make changes in his cabinet because he's going to have to find someone to blame, and the only person that he won't blame will be himself.
The GOP do not own the election machines. Thank you, Mission.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen that there were, even when they were trying to appoint in the beginning some administrative officials, like I think when he had like an FBI director or something, they knew they didn't have the votes, and they just resigned or withdrew their names.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz was supposed to be our attorney general. And that was a bridge that they wouldn't cross. Look, there'll be a lot of changes after the midterms. Why? Because there's an awful lot of Republicans up for in the Senate. The House is going to be Democratic. There's going to be an awful lot of Republicans who are going to be up in the 2028 elections. Donald Trump is a lame duck, all of a sudden they're going to turn around and say, am I on the Titanic? I'm getting out of here. And they're either, you're going to start seeing a lot more pushback against a lame duck, weak president, which is what we're going to have after the midterms.
Yeah, look at how many Republicans in the House, resigned early.
And again, that's not to say that people won't try things. Guarantee people will try things. They already did once. What's to say that
I think a big thing for us too is patience. This is going to be a long road for all of us.
Mhm.
But just keep on, with voting, keep on talking to people, keep on paying attention, and know that we can fix this, but it is going to take patience.
Here's the thing. We only can do what we have to stop. I understand the worry, and we should be paying attention to what could happen. But we cannot make decisions now based on what isn't happening yet. And that's something we need to be careful of. Because we've got a lot of people. Goodbye, Tony. It's a dumb statement. We've got, if we scare people into not voting because we sit here and we say the GOP own the voting machines, then we've just shot ourselves in the foot. When right now we just need to get people to vote. We need to get more than 25% of the people in every state to vote in their primaries, let alone the general election. We need more people to vote in general elections. Now, if we see a lot more people, if we go through the election, certain things happen, it goes through courts, it goes through whatever, and we realize what's going on, then maybe we've got a valid argument and we need to take it up a next step. But to sit here and just decide that because X, Y, and Z happened, that the 2026 election is stolen, that's as bad as they are. We're literally as bad as they are. They're going to post ICE at voting booths. Good luck to them. Good luck to them.
They can't.
Good luck to them.
Look, I've been crunching the data now for quite some time. You're going to have a very decent turnout among the Democrats in 2026. Right now, it's running at 20% more than the Republicans, and I've never seen voter enthusiasm for either party 20 points ahead of the other party. Republicans are dispirited, and what's happening in Minnesota is going to keep an awful lot of people. I'm not saying they're going to turn around and vote for Democrats. What I'm saying is you're going to see a lot of those people just stay home out of disgust.
How, again, we need to remind ourselves. So we say that, the GOP own the voting machines. Scott, how many elections have happened since the 2024 election?
About 57. I could be off by one or two.
And
they're coming every week.
And what has been the result of those 56 elections?
The Democrats are averaging about 16 points better than they did 1 year before in 2024.
So, and those are, and many of those states are not blue, quote unquote, elections. We're talking in some deep red areas in some of these cases that have been Republican led for decades, in some cases that have flipped.
Yeah, and even the ones that haven't flipped, as we saw just a few weeks ago in Georgia, they won by 22 points in 2024, and they won by only 9 now. So that's showing that the voting patterns have changed.
Where we're talking across the country. We're talking Missouri, we're talking Florida, we're talking Virginia, New Jersey, Georgia, Pennsylvania. It literally could go on and on and on and on and on.
I'm talking in the Georgia case, I'm talking Georgia 7, the 7th district in Georgia,
And
where the
even
Republican won, but he only won by 9 points, and he won by 22 a year before.
so, again, I understand the fear. I understand that we need to be aware that an administration that tried to overturn a free and fair election tried to do it again, and just like was probably going to do the exact same kind of things they did in 2024 to pay people to vote. I literally would not surprise me at all, because that's what they do. But in the end, we know that elections are happening. We know the Democrats are winning, progressives are winning. And in the end, if only 20 to 25% of people come out and vote in primaries, that's a problem. If only 60 to 64% of registered voters vote in general elections, that's a problem. That's a problem. We need to be better. We need to do better.
It's an even bigger problem than your state, Mike. I mean, 64% is like a high water mark for Americans in general elections.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, that's considered fantastic turnout. Take a look at every other democracy. They have much higher turnout than we do. So we pat ourselves on the back. Hey, we crossed 60%. Look, 64% of the people voted. That's democracy. Well, I don't think that's anything to be bragging about. I mean, Germany has a snap election, gets 81% to show up.
And you're right, Kathleen. People need to keep track of their voting registration because, again, we already know that they do shady shit. There's no argument there that red states especially are doing shady shit. And it's going to take extra work from us. It's going to take extra work from us. You just have to accept that. You have to accept that. Is it annoying? Of course it's annoying.
That's a real good point, Mike. If you live in a red state, please check your voter registration status. It's probably okay, but it won't take you long to check it. Please check your voter registration status.
Be informed. And I'll say this again, because there's probably a new group of people. I am interviewing as many progressives as humanly possible that are running for state and federal elections. I'm recording 14 people this week. I am putting up a minimum of 2. With the amounts that I'm getting, probably more than 2 every single week of people that are running in districts. If there are more people that want to get interviewed that are running for state and federal, please reach out to them for me. But we need to watch their stuff. We need to watch their stuff. We need to share their stuff, because the biggest hurdle that these progressives that are running have is visibility. Visibility, name recognition, policy, people understanding the policies that they are pushing for. By the way, hey, Willow. The only way that's going, because again, we know this, the DNC is not going to do it. It's not going to do it as much as we'd like it. They're not going to go into rural Texas where a progressive is running and help get their name out. They're just not going to. We already know where they're spending their money, and it's not going to be there. So we need to help. You need to watch videos of people that aren't in your district and share them and like them and forward it out there. Because the more people see it, the better the chance that people in their district will hear the name. That's just a reality. Yeah, I know, Clara. I'm about to get off. Thank you. But so again, the question is, what do you guys want? Do you guys want change or do you want to complain? I understand the desire to complain. You can do both. I'm okay with that. But if in the end, we just want to spend time complaining and we're not willing to put the time and effort in to actually getting the change we want, then what the hell are we doing here? How much can I make doing what you do? Not very much. Not very much at all. I would like to do this full time, but the only way I can do it full time is with the help of you guys. With that being said, in the end, I would do this if I was making absolutely no money, because it's important, because it's needed. Because this is what I can do to help in our current situation. This is what I can do. I would love to be able to keep doing this. But yeah, talking about being rich, hell no. Yeah. So, if you're over here, make sure you click all these buttons. And please go over and follow on the tube. Please, 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 please. The video that I posted today has like 30 likes and 1 view, which means I'm really not making any money on it. I was already making hardly anything to begin with, but it seems that now we're going to make even less. So if we can get the views, if we can get everything up over there, then it won't be such a big deal that who knows how this is going to work anymore. New videos coming out tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you for everyone that came up and talked. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the gifts, and the subs over on the tube. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, you guys are amazing just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys. And stay safe, because it's going to be cold out there. What times? 9:30 a.m. I start on the tube. Eastern. Every time. So I stream 5 days a week. All weekdays. 9:30 a.m. Eastern, I start on the tube. 10 a.m. Eastern, I go live here on TikTok. So, Monday through Friday. 9:30 to 12 Eastern. All right, guys. Do something that makes you happy. Be safe. And keep fighting this craziness. Love you guys. Bye. Goodbye, YouTube. You guys rock. I'll see you tomorrow.